campground rules listed on the Sun and Fun website. Camping packages include discounted admission, and no association discount codes can be used for camping purchases. For hassle-free ticketing, visit flysnf.org, the official website for the Aerospace Expo. Remember, third-party ticket sale websites are not authorized. Your tickets are non-transferable, so be cautious. Before you soar into the expo, remember to print your barcode or display it on your phone from the email confirmation upon completing your order. Sign up for an online account during checkout to view and reprint any of your orders. For any questions or issues, check our ticket FAQ on our website, email customer support at flysnf.org, or call us at 863-644-9419. We're here to ensure your Aerospace Expo experience is seamless. Get ready to camp, connect, and celebrate aviation at the Sun.
You're listening to Sun and Fun Radio, WPEP 788, 1510 AM, and I am Steve Tupper, and it is Thursday night. It's after the air show. It's at Sun and Fun, and I am not at Sun and Fun. This is, I think we tried to do the math the other year, and other than when we had a global pandemic make the thing not happen, I think this might be our 12th year doing this. Welcome, everyone, to the Not at Sun and Fun radio hour. Going to be an hour this year. I am joined by a cast of characters that are all not at Sun and Fun. It's literally the only standard required to be on the show. We are orbiting over Lakeland Linder Regional Airport in a highly modified Stealth DC-3 and are taking over the airwaves as we do every year because we're jealous and bitter and genuinely unhappy about not being able to be at Sun and Fun. In the DC-3 with me in the right seat is Nicholas Tupper. Why don't you say hello to everybody, and everybody. Introducing you as Nicholas is not helpful. You are FOD to anyone who knows. Go ahead and say hi to the people.
How's it going, folks? I'm Nicholas Tupper, coming from precisely the same Stealth DC-3 shaped vaguely like a basement, and delighted to be here.
Also on the line, James Wormkessel. Do you go by JR? Do you go by James?
Oh, I think everyone knows me as JR.
Okay. So, JR, introduce yourself, tell people. And the reason I'm doing this is this crew is so active that we change dramatically year to year. And far be it from me to try to adequately describe what and who you are after a year of development and universe-conquering efforts. So introduce yourself, sir.
Oh, my name is J.R. Wormkessel. I'm here, let's see, in the tail gun position, looking for the traffic coming from the back, and CFI, double I, and a bunch of other stuff. I've changed my rating so often, I've stopped putting on my business card. So I'm green with envy, and I hope that maybe we'll land this bird one of these years.
Very cool. I think we have Ben on the line as well. Ben, are you there?
Yeah, hopefully this is working. Yes, I'm here. Managed to get all the interwebs connected to join from all the way down in the real south, down in the south.
Ben is the most not at Sun and Fun by distance anyway. He is also the best of us because he is, as we speak, inverted. He's not antipodal, but close enough to inverted that I am, after all, impressed.
Well, thank you.
Well, I think this is going to be the panel for us, and we're going to be going an hour. I'm going to do station breaks and pretend I am Dave Shellbetter. Which has already involved several wardrobe changes and a vuvuzela. We'll explain how that works in the second hour, which won't be happening. But how has everybody been? It has been a year. They're doing things in Florida. I've seen like video feeds. I understand Ken Mist is down there. Oh, Canada. And it's spring break for pilots down there. And we don't care. How are things going? And I'll just sort of throw it open. How are things going in all places that are not Sun and Fun, folks?
Well, I have to say that I've had an excellent year. Excuse me. And I just got back from Florida 2 weeks ago, so I was in the area and I did not stop by. But I had a wonderful time. I was in Destin, Florida, and yeah, the weather was beautiful. We had a great 4 or 5 days before I hot-footed it out of there.
Now, did you hot fit it on the Kerosene Canary or on one of your very capable aircraft?
No, I mailed myself. It's just too efficient, you know. So normally I'm out here in California, which is, what do they say, the farthest point in the continental United States from any other useful place.
Sure.
So I hang out here right on the coast and wait for the sun to shine through. Although we've had a really nice year. It's a beautiful day today, although it's supposed to rain on Saturday. And we've been flying. What does Jack always ask me? How many are my airplanes flying? 3 of my airplanes are flying, which I think is a record. 3 of 5 is a pretty good number, and it may be 4 of 5 soon.
Very cool. That's jealousy right there. Fod, tell me what's going on with you. Fod, by the way, a brand new FAA Fast Team representative as of a couple of days ago.
Yeah, really and honestly, what isn't going on with me? It's been a really busy year. Got to do some air show announcing last summer, which was a total blast. Recently got a fast card in the motor gliders that we fly, and oh, that's right, that Tomahawk that Steve and I fly all the time. Well, it may or may not have fallen in with a bad crowd to steal his mannerisms for that one. It now smokes, so we are the greatest menace in Southeast Michigan.
Well, I'm scared.
Well,
and you should be.
We flew through the eclipse totality on Monday, and the other thing I was thinking about is, hey, it's a pretty nice little eclipse viewing party here. Be a shame if it, suddenly became overcast. You wouldn't want anything to happen to your party here, would you?
That would be awful. I've got an Autotopia driving permit. Maybe it's almost the same thing.
So we're clear. We did, in fact, blow smoke through the totality because anyone in their right mind would and should. Although we were a little bit low on Smoikel from turning a few small airports IMC on our way there.
Oh, man, that sounds like so much fun.
Smoikel weighs 8 pounds per gallon, which in a Tomahawk that, some idiot has already reduced the useful load by 15.5 pounds with a pump and a tank and hardware. Mm-hmm. But Ben, how are things in Oz? You're on standard time. The nights are getting longer. How are things in Oz? Please tell us.
It is definitely well into autumn, or as you guys would say, fall. It's only 55 here today, so at the moment it's cloudy. It's definitely turned the corner now, and we're moving on into our winter, which thankfully is it's probably more what JR gets for winter rather than what the Tuppers would get up in Michigan. Because if it snows that hard down here, something has gone horribly wrong. So
that's true.
So yes, we don't have to shovel our driveways, and for that I am thankful. But no, it's been a very good summer. It actually wasn't aggressively hot this year. It can push way up into the 40s for a few weeks, even down here. It only did that once, so that was good when it was 115 for a couple of days. But
you might be talking to the only Americans that understand a Celsius scale, so it's okay to go all metric on us.
I can go metric.
Yes.
Yeah, so if when it does get up into the 40s, but it's not quite as bad as where I used to live, because about 6 years ago I used to live in northern Western Australia, where it gets into the 40s for 2 months of the year. So, but it's like Arizona. It's a dry heat.
So do you measure your sweat by the bucket or by the barrel?
Well, it's you don't sweat quite so much because it's not like Darwin. So Darwin and the tropics up on the north coast, they generally they get a wet season. So it's more like Florida is in the summer. It's just horrible.
So you more just bake.
Yep, it's basically you just open your front door and walk into the oven and get into your car as fast as possible and turn the aircon
on the wrong side.
Correct, definitely, yeah. That's always a challenge.
That nicely tanned right arm.
Yeah, that's right. We're always driving around in the first officer's seat.
Well, they're. I mean, I've heard the season referred to in the north of Australia as the wet, and they mean it.
Yeah, definitely. It's in this time of year, it's actually coming out of the wet up there, so that's actually quite good. The monsoon's finished for the year, because in the middle of like your December, January time frame when the wet's in full swing, you basically need to go and have a shower after you go down and pick up the mail.
Lovely.
So Ben, I have a question for you. I've always been interested in doing a flying safari in that part of the world. What time of year would you suggest would be like the optimal time where I wouldn't be uncomfortable?
So the time of the year that you guys would want to be down here is your summer.
Okay.
So, although it depends where you're trying to fly. Like if you're trying to do like an outback kind of thing, then the further north you go, once you go north of the tropic, you definitely want to sort of bias it towards the middle of the year, because it's when it's quite pleasant. If you go up into Darwin, Cairns sort of area at the end of the year, it's going to be very hot, very humid. Flying conditions is probably not going to be great because it's going to be like trying to fly in Florida in summer. It's just going to be build-ups everywhere. You're going to be dodging things. It's not going to be great. But to be honest, it's actually this time of year that's the best. It's sort of the fall, spring kind of time frame where the weather's good enough in the southern states, but it's not wet season up north.
Interesting. Thank you so much. I have to say, my friend suggested to me that it might snow here in Felton, where I live, and I was so horrified by the idea that I left for Catalina, which is down in Los Angeles, and I just said, nope, I'm out.
Yeah. Yeah, if I did ever move to North America, I'd definitely like, Vancouver is the level of snow shoveling that I'll be willing to put up with, I think.
You
do it a couple of times a year. Look,
Well,
doing it for a few days a year is fine. I don't think I could do Michigan level of snow shoveling.
we have machines for that now. But you're
true.
But you're not wrong. You're not wrong in any way, and we appreciate the respect and love that I am feeling in that regard. And the other thing is Vancouver would be about right for you. Don't fear IMC. You can speak through the weather. I don't know if you said so. We were getting our headset all set up. Ben, of course, you have been and are still an air traffic controller of some repute and trusted by pilots and groundhogs alike. Tell us again about your role, what you do, because there are subspecialties, and you have covered several of them. What are you doing now?
So what I'm doing now is radar approach control. So we unlike in the US, we don't do up down. That's a very rare thing for those that listen to RH and AG and that podcast. So we just specialize in either tower or radar or en route. So at the moment, I work for a Class Charlie facility. On American standards, it would qualify as a small Class Charlie, because we don't do our landing rate is probably about a sixth of what Atlanta can do on a good day. So
Sure.
we're small fry compared to what how much metal our US compatriots can move over there.
At least you're not a Tursa.
Yeah. My head kind of hurt when they started bringing that up, and I'm like, what now? And I had to wrap my head around what they were talking about.
I don't even think that's ICAO. I think it's they had a bunch. They built Class Charlie and nobody showed up, or when Part U.S. Part 97 came in like the 80s, they couldn't, because of the airspace spec, couldn't make it into a formal Charlie, but still wanted to be able to offer the radar service. And like 2 of our Tursas got eaten. They're still Tursas, but they got eaten by a thing called Great Lakes Approach that handles a lot of southern lower Michigan. If you the part that looks like the mitten, like the bottom half of that on the east side, is all that way now. But yeah, no, we and different, like we look at Canada just across the river or the lake from us, and it's the Windsor control zone. It would otherwise be a class Delta. I don't know that I would want to just go busting through Canada without doing even though I understand the ICAO airspace, I don't know that I just want to go busting through without really figuring out what various national governments mean when they say the airspace categories.
It's getting a lot better. We actually did a reasonably big change. It'd be 15, 20 years ago now, where we actually went to what I will call proper Class Delta, which is a lot more similar to the US Class Delta. So it's a lot more ICAO compliant, because we used to actually have 2 different varieties of it, depending on whether you were going to a regional airport or you were operating in one of our metro training airports, which were both Class Deltas. There's still some differences now, but it's very minuscule. It's all the minimas are the same and the rule sets are the same. A little bit different how we do it in air traffic control land, but that's more just to do with the airspace configuration than anything else.
Well, if we can line up and wait instead of taxiing into position and hold, that's really the only U.S. Concession to ICAO. That and the fact that we acknowledge we know nothing about gliders, and so JAR 22, the Joint Airworthiness Regulation, is pretty much managed by the Europeans, and we're okay with that. Apologies to the Schweitzer family in Elmira, New York, when I say that.
Yeah, we do a similar thing here. Our regulator has got rid of the balloons. Grant will love me when I say that. The balloons, the gliders, and the parachutists all managed by their own associations. So the regulators divested themselves of that a little bit, and they just maintain oversight of the sporting association that looks after that by themselves. It's kind of a little bit like the fast team thing in the US. Because over in Australia, you don't need a fast card to be. You guys don't have a formation endorsement, I don't think.
No.
Whereas in Australia, it's definitely its own little endorsement on your license to fly in formation, to fly arrows. Yeah.
Really? Okay. Yeah, we have a number. For example, ICAS, the International Council of Air Shows, is the SMO for pyro shooters in charge and the aerobatic competency examiners, or the ACE program. And then the Formation and Safety Team, or FAST, through its 13 signatory organizations, issues formation cards. And I mean, I think everybody ends up kind of getting the equivalent level of safety. That's not actually an ELOS idea, but I think everybody probably gets to the same place, except that you guys do everything inverted.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know why we need aerobatics endorsements and formation endorsements. We just do it upside down anyway, right?
I actually looked into, when I was flying more acro, had access to a PITS. I actually asked an examiner for the commercial check ride. how many of these maneuvers could I actually do inverted? Because you can do lazy H, you can do chandelles, and that was very short lived because then I figured out how quickly I'm likely to vomit.
Yeah. No, this is one, and if anyone can tell me what this is, like we have a thing where we can do in company flights, so you're allowed to fly along together, and then at a certain point it becomes a formation flight. That's not written down anywhere where that is, and I'm not sure what that is, but somewhere between flying together and wingtip, the formation definition kicks in. So
Got it. Yeah,
in the U.S., the FAA doesn't really have a general definition when it comes to just ditzing around and doing your own thing in your AO, or if you want to go fly nice type formation with your buddy, you can do that. But if you want to do it in waivered airspace as part of an aerial demonstration or anything like that, that's when you got to have the fast card for the from the signatory.
Yeah, okay, that's interesting.
And that's within 500 feet of another aircraft is their definition for that.
Okay, I mean, we probably got a similar thing. There's probably just meters, not feet. Now, this is the part that's really going to make you guys your heads hurt. Is that I've got a commercial license, and I wouldn't know what a chandelle is if it fell over it. We don't actually have to do half of those maneuvers that you guys do for your commercial.
Well, can I explain the chandelle to you?
Yes.
Go.
Yes.
Because FOD's check ride is in like a week or two.
Okay.
FOD, get ready to log ground.
Okay, here we go.
I'm ready. You got the logbook open.
Yep. Imagine you're flying in the Sierras and you're in a valley, and there's a mountain to the left of you and a mountain to the right of you, and you're flying down the valley and you realize that the valley is ending, and you need to think to yourself, I had better turn this aircraft around. What a chandelle is a climbing 180-degree turn that is designed to get you out of the valley.
Perfect. I just logged 0.1.
That's it.
Or out of the Hudson River corridor without busting the LaGuardia wall.
Right. Well, all of those things, right? It's I need to turn this aircraft around. I don't want to hit anything. And I live in California, with the Sierras, and let me tell you, there are real valleys. And as your aircraft is at 8,000 or 10,000 feet, it does not climb very well. And those valleys, they just end. And you're like, if you don't know where you are and what you're doing, it can get very nasty. And the chandelle is designed to teach you to turn the aircraft around. That's people ask me all the time, and that's what I think about it for. It may not be the oil answer, but that's how I think about the problem.
I think
absolutely. I think that's spot on, and especially when it comes to at higher altitudes, your density altitude, and greater ground speed as a result. Dropping the speed off as part of the turn. Yeah, I rarely think of it in a mountain context. I've always kind of thought of it as that thing that you do when you don't want to get an instrument rating and you just want to find a hole in a broken layer. But now I have an instrument rating, so I haven't thought about it in a while.
Yeah, that's and it's one of those things. Many of our listeners are in Florida, and it's pretty flat there. But if you come out and have an opportunity to fly in the Sierras, you should absolutely do that. But you should not be confused that it is flying in a different way than you've ever flown before, and you really need to get subsequent instruction and assistance to teach you how to fly these aircraft in these environments. It's not an everyday skill. And you have to be very careful.
Absolutely. And actually, that as my dad mentioned, my sister, his daughter is off at USC. So at some point over the next couple of years, I'll probably make a visit out of it and try and make it a point to take a mountain flying course while I'm over there. I think that would be a whole bunch of fun.
Yeah, as I said, I was flew to Catalina, and if you go see your sister, take an airplane and go fly to Catalina. It's a small island off of the coast of Los Angeles. And it's not a very long flight, maybe 20 or 30 miles.
Is that the airport with like a sheer cliff off one end?
It is.
I saw the Air Safety Institute video on it. That was okay. That's wicked cool.
So it's called Airport in the Sky, and the identifier is Alpha Victor X-ray. But interestingly enough, they rebuilt the runway in 2019, and they got rid of the hump. The hump is gone. It is a very flat runway now. Before it used to be a bowl. And the problem is that when you were coming into land at Catalina, I think it's Avenal, as you would come into land, you couldn't see the end of the runway, and so you could see the first third of it, and you'd get very frightening. Like, where's the rest of this runway? And then as your wheels touch down, you kind of come over the crest, and you can see the rest of it. Well, that's all gone now, and now it's a beautiful runway, and they've done a marvelous job. And then from the airport in the sky, you can take the shuttle down into town. So the whole island, with the exception of 1 square mile, is owned by the Wrigley family and a conservancy. So you have so there's a town, and then there's kind of wild nature, and it's really a lot of fun. And I encourage anyone who's flying in the LA area to get an instructor or rent an airplane to go fly over there. It's just a lot of fun.
Yeah, I've never been to Catalina, but I think I've seen it every time I've flown to the US, because it's basically the first bit of land that you get to see after 14 hours of Pacific Ocean.
Yeah, it may be Catalina. There's actually a number. They call them the Channel Islands. There's a number of islands off the coast of the west coast there, and one of them is a military base, and then there's Catalina, and then there's a number of other islands that are kind of closed to the public. But absolutely, it is so much fun to go out to Catalina and hang out in the town, and the cruise ships tend to dock there. So there's kind of always something going on. A little bit of a tourist town, but people are friendly, and the airport in the sky is just fantastic. And apparently, I learned you can camp at the airport, which is kind of a fun idea.
That is wicked cool. I'll throw you one to kind of return that. You've given me an excellent destination. I'm gonna try and throw one your way for Michigan. If you're ever flying around in Michigan, check out Mackinac Island. It is
I've heard of
so
it, but
cool.
I've never been there. Okay.
It's you fly in, and there not a single car on the whole island apart from the fire department. A few actual residents, but it's like stepping back into the 1800s. You can fly in, park for the day, and then walk your way into town. The whole island's only like 2 miles across, but I flew in this summer for the first time, and that was a really cool experience.
That sounds like so much fun. Here's one for you. You can fly due west from the west coast of America and end up in Canada.
Yes.
In fact.
That was a shocking experience. I left out of Bellingham, which is right up in the Canadian Washington, and you due west, and you end up on Victoria Island. So that's another fun one.
Well, we're in the one area in the U.S. where you can fly south and accidentally end up in Canada.
Yeah,
it's a part of my air show briefing. If you get disoriented, do not fly south. You will end up in Canadian airspace. And I make.
They're not going to appreciate that.
I make a knee board. Oh no, I started World War III like 5 years ago.
I remember, Steve. I remember.
I make a knee board for the performers. With all the frequencies, everything you'd want to have in the cockpit, so they don't have to, worry about gathering the paper they're going to strap to their knee board. They just have it. But everybody knows what a blood chit is, yes?
Yes.
Like the Chinese writing on the inside of the early 1940s Flying Tigers jackets. That basically is a message to American P-40s, right? American P-40 gets shot down. It basically says, I am an American pilot. Take me to my base, and my base commander will reward you in some way. Mine is written in French, and it says, I am an American pilot who is lost. If you get me back to Detroit, my air boss will see that you were invited to the performer party.
Oh, I thought you were going to pay the fine.
No. Have you seen my budget for River Days?
Oh no, the fine is the parachute D-ring that you better pull if you cross over.
Oh, that's right. We've got a whole bunch of we got an audience here, and we're going into a station break anyway. So I'm going to burn the rest of the time to the station break. This is a rumor. That I want started and perpetuated. The D-ring on a parachute, emergency parachute, like if you're flying acro or whatnot. When you pull, that D-ring is attached to a cable, but that'll come right off of the parachute rig. Don't let go of it. Hang on to it, because then you get down to the ground. The rumor that I want to circle the globe is that that D-ring is not only a good souvenir, but you can also trade it to any Amish farmer, and pilots have a deal with the Amish. The D-ring can be traded in for a ride into town. That's the rumor I wish to start, perpetuate, and turn by virtue of reputation into hard truth. So anybody within the sound of my voice, make sure you perpetuate that rumor. Well, we're talking with J.R. Wormkessel. We have Ben Ippolito, Nicholas Fod Tupper, and me. I'm Steve Tupper. Some of you might know me as Stephen Forrest from the Airspeed Podcast. And in fact, I'm actually writing on a new episode. Episodes have been coming at like the rate of one per year, but the feed is still officially going on, at least in that regard. So this is the Not at Sun and Fun show where we take over Sun and Fun Radio for an hour, and you're listening to Sun and Fun Radio, WPEP 788, 1510 AM. Take that, FCC. We're legal for another half hour. Woo! All right. So we got another a thing I wanted to throw in. And this is partly tooting my own horn, but I'm a pilot. Nobody's going to be surprised by that. 2 or 3 years ago, I found out that you can do a thing. And I'm an instructor. I'm a double I, commercial pilot, glider, airplane, multi. I'm not quite JR, but I'm JR-ish. I was looking for the next big thing. And well, the only certificate above me that's available is airline transport pilot. Well, I can't do that because I don't want to
jealous here.
have to do CTP, and then I gotta drop a bunch of money to go get. You can do it multi in like a Seneca, but by that point, just go to ATP or someplace and get your type rating and stuff like that. I found out that you don't need CTP or any of this other stuff as long as you've got the time. You don't even need an instructor endorsement to get ATP airplane single engine land, and you can do it in an airplane as simple as the Piper Tomahawk. You're going to have a minor tough time getting an examiner because there aren't that many ATP single engine examiners. And when you do get a hold of one, they're like, oh, cool. So you're an airline driver who's just looking to add a single engine. No. I'm doing an initial ATP single engine. Well, why would you do a thing like that? It's like, you don't get to ask that question. I'm stupid. Is that not enough for you? Okay, what airplane are you going to do it in? He's thinking you're going to bring a Pilatus PC-12. No. I got me a PA-38, the mighty Piper Tomahawk. I had to leave my FSDO and go to a guy like 2 hours away. But it was a hoot. If you are looking for that sort of next challenge, and also, frankly, the big part of the reason I did it is to be like Jeb Burnside. But yeah, that's a thing you can do. I would be remiss if I didn't throw that out there, because we really are kind of talking to the creme de la creme in pilots and the people who are at Sun and Fun, and particularly those who are not at Sun and Fun listening to this broadcast from somewhere else. But yes, I'm blowing my own horn a little bit, but I have proven that you can do this. 500 hours across country, 50 hours in category and class, which is airplane single engine land, 1,500 hours total, unless you have like one of the, an 4-year aviation degree or whatever that gets you in with 1,250. I spent a bunch of time flying at night between Pontiac and Saginaw, because then I'm knocking out, 2 hours per hour when you think about it. I'm knocking out night, I'm knocking out cross country. It's hard as an instructor because, you rarely get more than 50 nautical away. But here's the good news. For ATP time, you don't have to land. You can fly 50 miles and an inch away from your departure airport, turn around, fly right back, and that actually counts. And that's a concession to carrier-based pilots and pipeline patrol pilots. Anyway, that's my thought bomb that I wanted to throw out into the audience.
Steve, tell us about the check ride. Like, what did you do? How was it? What was the hardest part? Put some meat on the bone.
Well,
Hey.
first he needed to get this hat, you see.
Yeah, I encourage anybody, go look at the ACS for this. It amounts to, part of it is like a commercial with the hood on. You got to do steep turns and stalls, approaches to stall and all this kind of stuff under the hood. You got to do an IMC takeoff, which is to say within 200 feet off the ground, you've got to be under the hood. The way I took it, I had the hood down on the takeoff roll and was, sort of looking up through the gap in the hood. And the moment the wheels broke ground, I'm on the gauges, which is fine. I'm not going to take out any runway lights that way. Otherwise, it is an instrument check ride with wicked close tolerances. The standard is, I think it's still plus or minus 100 on the altitudes. Approaches are plus 100 or plus 50, but minus 0 and no more than quarter scale deflection. If you're out there flying on instruments and you can keep the needle in or close to the donut, this is a thing you can do.
Wow, that sounds like so much fun. It's something that I very much want to do. You've inspired me to go and try.
If you do the written, you don't need an endorsement for either the written or the check ride. If you fail the written or the check ride, all it takes is either an instrument ground instructor for the written or a double I to sign you off to go back and take it. You can take the Shepherd's course. It's the airplane single engine, like 135. The Shepherd stuff, I only saw maybe 3, 4, 5 questions from the Shepherd study stuff that's on the airplane single engine knowledge test. I think the Shepherd's is a lot better for the multi-engine test, but I still scored really well and studied my hiney off for it. And actually, FOD helped. FOD is an advanced ground instructor and instrument ground instructor as well, which is helpful.
Plus, I'm really mean and I carry a roll of old sectionals around. So every time your older than you student says something silly, they get a whack on the back of the hand. It's the same thing he did during my initial training. Every day you're off by 100 feet, whap, and he whacks and he gets the throttle at the same time. It's very efficient.
Yeah, Steve, you set such an example that I've decided to offer my daughter, who's now 15, some flying lessons, and I bribed her. I said, if you make it to 50 hours, 50 hours, I'll buy you a Bose A20, and she's at 45 hours and she's salivating for her own headphones.
Oh, that's a good bribe. That's a really good bribe.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I still have cheesy poofs in my pocket from the tie-down pony. I'll have you know.
Yes, cheesy poofs. Yes.
She tendered a quantity sufficient that I could not ingest them all, and my laundry was orange for 2 weeks thereafter.
But my daughter, when she has set her mind upon something, there will not be any stopping her. So she's not 15 and a half yet, so she doesn't have her driver's permit, and that's been the current discussion of the family of what kind of car that she wants. And despite her requests, I will not buy her a Dodge Challenger or a Dodge Charger or a Porsche.
No, and that's start them out flying.
Yeah, well,
they will never have money for drugs. It's
great. Well, that's true. and I always tell her, I said, Catherine, my slowest airplane is still faster than my fastest car, and I have a 150, but that's good fun. But I'm very proud of my daughter.
In particular, they definitely won't have money if they go on to become teachers or something like that.
Well, that's for sure. But I was gonna mention my daughter is also part of the Civil Air Patrol, as I understand it. Are you still a major or are you a colonel yet?
I've been a lieutenant colonel for about 10 years.
Oh, good for you. Well, anyway, my daughter has just passed her Wright Brothers award, and she's becoming a staff sergeant. So I'm very proud of her for accomplishing. Yeah, that's great.
Huge congratulations. That's a big milestone.
It is a big milestone.
That's the first really big one.
She's been working her butt off. So I guess last week was spring break, and all of the cadet leadership didn't show up, and my daughter was put in charge of the squadron, and she really enjoyed it. I think it was the first time that she was like in charge, and had to come up with a plan and execute it, and it was kind of all a surprise. But she really rose to the occasion. Which when I think about Civil Air Patrol, a lot of what the cadets do is rising to the occasion, and I'm continuously amazed at that program. So, any kids out there, any parents of kids who are interested in, you should find a local chapter and something that's worthwhile, and it's amazing to watch a kid grow up.
Go civilairpatrol.com. And there's a unit finder. You enter your zip code.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's also a program called International Air Cadets, or IACE. And do we have Aussies or Kiwis as a part of that?
That's like a that's not a long-term thing. That's like a 2 or 3 week or month-long study abroad period, but for aviation-related cadet programs. I'm 99% sure there's an Australian aviation cadet program. I know Canada's got the Air Cadets. We've sent, and I have friends who went to like Sweden and Denmark and Germany and flew gliders in Switzerland and just had a blast. So that's pretty cool.
And some of them even came back.
Only some. Most of the ones that flew the gliders they prefer to stay.
Gliders are so much fun. They're one of the truest forms of flying you'll ever do, and they're actually not that hard. It's amazing how fast, if you're a powered pilot, you can get your glider license. It's a couple weekends.
Oh, you're absolutely right. And I did my initial in glider. Of course, I was cheating because it was a motor glider, but still, I had plenty of aero tow going in. But I gotta agree, gliders are so totally the way to go. And if you ask me, I think it's best to start in gliders because the foundations that you pick up in gliders just transfer so well, but it totally works both ways. I love gliders.
Yeah, I don't know, guys. Like the pedals are meant to actually do things.
You
mean they're not?
They do things. You better use them, or you're not going to like what happens next.
Yeah. That's the one thing. Every time I get a familiar ride, like in a glider, every now and then you sort of go, I'll go and see the gliding club, and you go and do like a ride with them.
Spring thing pointing straight sideways, and why are we coming down so fast?
It's more actually you've got to lead the turn, which is not something you normally have to do in a Cirrus or a Piper. It's you're sitting there going, hang on, I haven't even really moved the stick yet, and the string's like gone on holiday.
Oh yeah. Well, but if you ever want to have a super fun afternoon, take a glider pilot up in an airplane and just watch their feet, and just take them on a flight. Don't tell them you're going to let them fly or anything. Just watch their feet, and they won't even notice they're doing it. But they are a built-in autopilot yaw damper for you. That ball will never move because they're just subconsciously in the right seat, just doing it for you.
Yeah,
and they're not looking at the ball; they just feel it.
The big question I have for the Tuppers is which one of you is going to get an ATPG first?
I think that's that.
I think feel license,
I feel obligated. If it's not, I feel obligated to petition the FAA to make it. And if it is, I feel obligated that I have to one-up my dad somehow, and I feel like that's the ideal move.
Yeah.
And it will be in a glider with a smoke system.
I think that'd be mandatory, wouldn't it?
Wait, what do you use to light the smoil on fire if you don't have the motor?
Well, there are alternate means of creating smoke, or perhaps there's just a gas-powered engine with no propeller strapped to it. There are so many delightful ways to create smoke.
Well, here's the thing. I can't think of any glider I've flown, aero-towed glider, that has a no smoking sticker in it. You can smoke in a glider. Why do you think I fly them? Although I've never flown a glider with an ashtray in it either. So.
Sure you have. That's what the front seater's for.
Well, there's Yeah, I made the mistake of letting Fod fly in the back seat of the ASK 21 once, and it's a much nicer experience. You guys know what I mean when I say a heel up drummer versus a heel down drummer. Whether when you're on the kick drum, without spending a lot of time on it, in the front seat of the ASK, you are flexing at the ankle, like the rudder pedals are tied to the floor, and you are sort of like pushing that bass pedal by flexing your ankle. In the back seat, you just got a couple of pegs that the middle of your feet are on, and it's like being a heel up drummer, a proper prog drummer, and you're sitting up a little straighter. If you can, I don't even see the head in front of me anymore. It just disappears. And, it scares me now to fly with actual forward visibility from the front seat, which I have to do when I'm checking out instructors. But I let Fod in the back of that thing, and he won't fly in the front seat of a glider anymore.
Well, and not to mention all the cigar burns on your scalp that you're never going to be able to get out.
Dad, why are my feet wet? So cool. We got like 15 minutes to go. We are decidedly not at Oshkosh. Fod and I are in Michigan. JR's in Cali. Ben is in Oz, and we're 45 minutes in. We've kind of gotten our wax in mostly. Grant's not on, so we can't get thrown off the air in the way that we almost did 6 years ago. But I can. And Shell Better is looking for the button. He's looking for the button. He's on the wrong side of the room. He's tripping over people. But Tupper's going to say it. He's going to say it. Oshkosh, Oshkosh, Oshkosh. Go ahead. Throw me off the radio. We are not at Sun and Fun. But one of these days.
Steve, I've spent this whole time trying not to mention the verboten word, and here you are.
I'm not going to Jack Hodgson this thing. The fly-in up the road, not a chance. We are not at we're also not at Oshkosh. We will be though. But the one of these days, I am going to, set the whole thing up. On the sly, have Fod arranged to be able to host, and when it comes time to cue the music, I'm just going to walk around the corner of the Sun and Fun radio building and just sort of join on the porch. That'd be fun. I keep seeing what they do on. The purpose here is not to be nice to Sun and Fun, for we are not there, and we are honor bound to make fun of it and deride it. But I see the images of what they've done with the deck. The physical plant, the ongoing staff, Dave Shellbetter's hat that must weigh 20 pounds by now. And wow, what a program they are running. And my non-20-pound hat is off to them.
Well, I have to say, I've been one time, and it was so much fun. I'm going to Sun and Fun, and I enjoyed it thoroughly. And I'm looking to go back again, but it is a long way to go from California.
That's basically the reason that I don't even go to Oshkosh all that often, because it's a 14-hour flight to the west coast of the US, let alone to get across the entire US. And add to that if you go all the way to the US East Coast, it's about 13-hour time difference. So that really does a number on your body when you flip it.
Oh, so you're looking and feeling your best when you get there.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, after the better part of a day.
Do you end up making? Where do you terminate the human mailing tube phase of that trip? Is it Chicago, Milwaukee, Appleton? Where do you come in?
Normally, Chicago is the airport that we'll use. Purely because you do have some better options to get back to the West Coast. A lot of the time we coast out from the West Coast just because airfares and things like that. They do fly nonstop Chicago to Auckland these days.
Oh.
But, nothing against people in the LA area, but your airport's horrendous after you've done a long haul flight.
Uh-huh.
I can confirm even after a short haul flight.
Yeah, so it's basically trying to work out how to not go through LAX is the big problem, but that's where a lot of our flights end up. I've taken to going to Canada first and going to via Vancouver. I've done that a couple of times. That's actually quite good. But yeah, normally we finish up in Chicago and drive up from there, because by Australian standards, that's actually not a very long drive. So
Right.
3.5 hours is sort of up the street.
Do our countrymen ever give you the hairy eyeball getting in? I mean, in terms of customs or anything, or is that a pretty common thing? I mean, I'm amazed that you come to Oshkosh at all. That's commitment, sir.
Customs is not necessarily a bad thing. We had one gentleman at LAX one day who, a plane full of Australians, because that's when Virgin Australia was still flying across the Pacific. And he told us to line up in the American passport holder line, and we're all looking at him weird, going, "But we're all Australians." And he said, "Just do what I ask," and we're like, in a very, direct tone, and we're like, "Yeah, okay, we're not going to argue with the guy with the firearm." So, yeah, no, but generally speaking, the U.S. Customs has been fine. It's just they sort of look at you weird because you're like, "You came all this way to go to an air show. Do you not have air shows?" Like,
well, not like Sun and Fun or the other one up the road.
Do you?
That's right.
But out of all of us, you should be the least caring about whether you get thrown off Sun and Fun Radio. Now, here's the real question. If you were to have a 750 milliliter, I just went metric again. If you were to have a 750 milliliter of a certain liquid substance, do you have any difficulty getting that back into Oz being a civilized country?
That one, no, that would probably be okay. It's once you go over a liter, they start asking questions.
So
yes.
We can.
I am aware of what you're referring to there.
Indeed. Because
that's why I can't remember after a certain hour of a certain night at a certain air show.
I still have a bottle or two of that substance, and I don't even drink.
No, me either. After the late unpleasantness. By the way, just now getting ready to celebrate 2 years of not dead. So,
congratulations! How we get you a cake?
Yeah, I'm lighter, although less light than when I came home from the hospital. But yeah, I even got a basic med redo. I do it annually now. I got a family physician. I go see him. I do what he tells me to do, and shortly after that, it's like, okay, let's go to T6 school. Let's really ramp this up. So that's been fun. That's been cool.
Does it have an amazing way to focus your life?
It does. Now, it's not so much. I don't remember the part about almost dying. I mean, I got like a 3 or 4 day gap there. And then it was mostly the unpleasantness of there was a lot of nerve pain and stuff like that. It was mainly that, and then I was like a stinking cosmonaut trying. And Fod can tell you, he built the nicest handrails so I could get downstairs to my office, or I could hang on them. But yeah, my legs hurt. I had to learn to walk again. I went for T6 training. My instructor was very punctual. And she's like, "I'm going to get there at 8:30." So I would get there at 8, and I'd pre-flight the bird, get the cover off. But I would not do anything where I had to climb up on the wing until 8:20, because my main worry was I was going to fall off the airplane and have to lay.
The plane and be stuck.
Yeah, I'm going to lay there in pain. I want to do that for a maximum of 10 minutes. But yeah, that sobered me. In my dad's day, that was sort of, if you got a freebie heart attack, that's how you got that, and then you quit smoking. And whatever other, the 3 martini lunches and so on. Yeah, for me, it was just, I worked myself right into I'm trying to do that stuff a lot smarter. I mean, here's my other public service announcement. Get yourself a family physician, a general practitioner that you can go to. I went to walk-ins and stuff like that for like 7 years. I didn't have a doc, an elephant guy. You've heard the thing about, there's an elephant in the room, and a bunch of guys standing around the elephant, and they got their hands on different parts of the elephant, and they can't figure out it's an elephant. I specialists and whatnot, but you need an elephant guy or gal to identify when stuff is going systemically bad, and you're in line to die the death of Jim Henson, sans fame, and Muppets.
Well, I have to say, when I heard that you were on the mend, which was at the same time I heard that you were deathly ill, I felt so sad and for you, and I was so happy that you came through this on the other side. But I just worried about you terribly when I heard it happen, and tried not to bother you too much. But I'm so glad that you're on the mend, and now you're beating me, and I'm just green with envy for two reasons. First, you got an ATP, and second of all, I'm not in Florida at Sun and Fun.
There's that. Also, by the way, and I think we threw the invite out. This is always, I do this on purpose. Throw out the thing, hey, who's interested, maybe 3 weeks ahead of time, and then 48 hours before we're going to do it. Okay, who wants to actually be here, and
Right.
and throw it out. Steve Vischer is a regular on the Not at Sun and Fun show. But Steve had health issues, and I'm not talking out of school. Everything I know from Facebook. But as soon as he got home, I called him. I was out of Miramar in October, and I called him up. I did not expect. He called me back. So man, just huge well wishes to Steve, and I think he's kind of going through the same kind of thing I did in terms of figuring stuff out. I also now, actually, as of a year ago, shout out to my birth mother, Cynthia Sablehouse, with whom I got in contact like about a year ago now. And now I actually know my family health history. I was adopted. But I actually now know a bunch of stuff that might have been helpful to know otherwise. But yeah, pay attention, guys and gals. Get a general practitioner that's paying attention to the elephant issues.
What a great piece of advice. I was going to mention that I know that your daughter's going to school in California, in the southern part. And one of the things that if you are down there visiting her, you might go to there's a museum there that has one of the space shuttles, and I believe it's the only space shuttle that's been configured in the launch configuration.
Ooh.
I saw it a couple of weeks ago, and unfortunately, they have a big wrap over the nose. I was really confused why the orbiter was green, but yeah, I it's under construction. I got a chance to see it, and it's wicked cool.
Very cool. I had a chance to go to the Smithsonian in Dulles in November of last year, and to see another space shuttle was another real good experience. And I cannot recommend enough the Smithsonian in Dulles. It was really an experience.
Well, guys, we're coming up. We got 3 minutes to go, and what I want to do is go around the table, and we'll begin with JR. JR, tell us again who you are, where people can find you online, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, my name is J.R. Wormkessel. I'm around. I don't really have a lot of presence, although I did have an article published in Aviation Safety in March called What Now, Captain? So if you have an interest in thinking about after you've gotten your license, what you should do next, go do that. What I did is I went to England and I flew a tiger moth, and that was a whole lot of fun. So go check that out and go figure it out. And I'm out here on the West Coast and doing stuff.
Ben!
Okay, well, if you happen to fly around a place called Adelaide in southern Australia, then you might actually hear my voice on the VHF. But considering most of the people here probably would need a map to find Adelaide, on social, not very social, but I do also dabble in another podcast which has been revived. The Plane Crazy Down Under podcast is back. Season 2 is in full swing. And I can't take credit other than dabbling around when Steve lands himself in hospital, because I'm just the sub-in. But no, the boys are doing great work and showing the Australian-New Zealand side of aviation to the rest of the world.
And Nicholas Fod Tupper.
I'm findable as FODTUPPER, Fod Tupper, all around. I also run a custom furniture business called VA Design, High Speed Furniture on Instagram, because of course aviators need absurdly specific furniture. And that's enough for me. Yeah, I'm around, and find me. Also recently on an episode of UCAP. So if you are an Uncontrolled Airspace listener, you will have heard me on the last episode.
And last but not least, coming to you live from a stealth-equipped DC-3 circling high above Lakeland Linder Regional Airport, I'm Steve Tupper. I'm on Twitter, Stephen Force, STEPHENFORCE. The Airspeed Podcast, the feed is still out there. Please enjoy. You can buy my book. It is the Pilot's Legal Guide. If you go to pilotworkshop.com, look at the manuals, 110 pages of illustrated, really cool stuff written by me. I'm an aviation lawyer and do all sorts of stuff. So I'm going to throw, JR, here's your parachute. I'm going to shove you out the door.
Bye.
Ben, here's your parachute. Go.
See you next time.
And I think Fod just launched as well. You're listening to Sun and Fun Radio, WPEP 788, 1510 AM, Sun and Fun Radio. That's it for another year. Have fun, ladies and gentlemen, and be safe.
Aviation at the Sun and Fun Aerospace.
Hi, this is Jack from the Uncontrolled Airspace Podcast. Don't miss a very special UCAP live episode Saturday, April 13th at 5:15 p.m. right here on Sun and Fun Radio, WPEP 788, 1510 AM Lakeland, and on the web at liveatc.net/SNF.
Calling all pilots and aircraft enthusiasts. Don't miss out on the Flyby Showcase, a complimentary activity at Sun and Fun. Show off your aircraft in flight at the show center while a description of your pride and joy is shared with the crowd. Join us daily at 9 a.m. for a briefing about the flyby pattern and staging times. Each aircraft or group has exclusive use of the pattern for up to 6 minutes. It's a fantastic opportunity to exhibit your aircraft in action to the many guests at the event. See you at the Flyby